Hey, today I want to show you how to make a foil kite using the Surfplan hobby version. First we want to make a really simple foil kite for hydrofoiling or snow kiting, low aspect ratio, without too much structural details, just to get familiar with the software. And yeah, you can get this program for free at Surfplan. It's an Australian guy who provides almost 80%, I don't know, of the kite industry with this program. Also makes paragliders, and he was kind enough to let us hobby kite makers have this free version of it, which has some less features, but it's good enough for most users. So this is the layout, and as you can see, this is a tube kite, and we don't want to design a tube kite today. We want to make a wheel kite. So first thing we're gonna do is change the profile and remove all this inflatable stuff here. So I made my own profile using the FXLR software I will show you later, and I use a little bit more pronounced profile for the center, which has a bit more lift, but now you see it's still its tube kite. So what we need to do is make a double skin out of it. That looks better. So also on the wingtips we have this strange profile here, and we want to have a real kite with a real nice profile. So this is the tip profile. It's a bit thinner, less drag, a little bit more reflex. I will explain later in the aerodynamic video what this does and what this is good for and what this is not good for. So, and we want to have a closed cell kite. So we put one here. So all the cells are closed now. We will open some later when we make some vents, but this should be alright. So the next thing which makes it look like a tube kite is this big canopy curve, and here you can change the canopy. Yes, we want to have a bridle, and you can use either this or this. This you can do some more fancy stuff, which is like pulling the tips in. Oh, that was too much. You know, make it flat, make it curved, pulling the tips in. Make a ball like this. This would be like a paraglider maybe like this. But we want to make a kite. Normally I use this one, and just it needs some time, but now we just want to do it quick and dirty, and we just make the arc shape, and we just define how much degrees this tip will have to this tip. So that's 160, that's too much for a foil kite. That's like a race kite, which is really flat, but we want to just have a free ride kite, so I will just go for this for now. So the next thing is there's quite a lot of cells, not a lot of cells, so we want to add some more, and we want a bridle every 2 cells, then we don't need like diagonal ribs and that sort of stuff. So we just have 2 unsupported cells in the middle, and 2, I want to have the first attachment point at this rib, and the tip should fly free, like it's in most modern foil kites. So that will be 4 cells extra, and then just a number which can be divided by 2. So let's say we want to make 30 cells, plus 4 is 34. Okay. So now the brittle attaches here at the tip, like we don't want it to have. So we just go to the brittle setting, and here is the brittle spacing, and we want to begin at rib 2. You can see now we have the free tip, and now every second rib, so that would be 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. Let's see, we need more. 14, 16, 18. And now these lines, they match in the middle, and we don't want to have it like this. There should be 2 free cells. So we did a mistake with our cell count. We either have to add 2 now, or to make 2 less, and we just decide to make 2 cells less and go down to 32 here. So now we have a nice equal cell spacing. We will fine-tune the brittle later, but that should be good for now. So now we wanna, how big should the kite would be? I wanna make like for hydrofoiling, so I just say like 5 square meters and aspect ratio of 4.5. So really low performance, but stable and nice wing, like a peak maybe, but with 2, like a full closed cell Foilkite. So we just have to, we can't, we can directly type in the area, 5 meters, and determine an aspect ratio 4.5, and this will give us like the values here for the wingspan and the center short, which will be used. So you can see here that the cells in the middle is really narrow, and here it's quite large actually. So we want to make it proportional to short. So now we have wide cells in the middle, where we also have a long short, and narrow ones as the short, this length here gets shorter. And now it's completely like proportional to the short length. I always make it to 76, just a value that developed over the time. So it will be a little bit more like, yeah, balanced. I don't know, this is, you can spend hours and years finding here the values. And we want to have an elliptical kite, and we want to have a nice elliptic form at the front, and the back should be, yeah, not all the way straight, but almost. Wait. So we want to relaunch it on the water when you crash it, and then the shape of the leading edge should be more like this. So maybe we even can do a single line relaunch, like on the fly surface sole or something. So with this value, I don't actually know why, but it works. We can sweep back the leading edge. like this. And we can sweep it back even more, or we just can reduce the tip also a little bit, which is done up here. Let's do 25%. So we have a more elliptical wing, and now we put it even to 60, 70, and now we have a really round leading edge. You can see it here. Okay, that's good for now. You can just play around here a little bit more if you like to. But for this, I just want to show how the program works. So this should be enough. And now the brittle, it looks really old school, just like a really old buggy kite maybe. So we could be a lot more efficient with the line length here. First thing we see is this can go up a little bit, like here maybe. So we just use as much line. And then also we see that it's like for a buggy kite. So the A, B and C lines, they spread up here, and then they are all together here on the A lines and on the front lines. So we couldn't attach a mixer to it, and we couldn't make it like a D-power kite. So we want to have this. So what we do is we just make it a paraglider. So all the lines go to one point now, which is here the mixer now. You can play a little bit around later to just spread it a little bit with manual settings. And now it looks even more worse, but we can attach a mixer. So next thing we're gonna do is add a cascade. And we do 3 cascades maybe. Yeah. And then we want to have 3 and 3 and 2, or maybe 3 and 3 and 2. So we will see in a minute what I do here. I just group these lines. So, and we only need 2 cascades. Whoop. Okay. Maybe just stay at 2. So now we stay at 2 here, but we make 2 here as well. So now it cascades nicely. Yeah, this I think that looks like a good setting for this kind of wing and this cell count. So you see it takes a lot of time to figure out. And yeah, I just do it by the looks that I get. Like here it's the outside, and that's like the steering part of the kite, and this is like more the middle, where you want to have the power if you pull in the bar. And in the end you pull all the lines here at the same time, but you want to spread the load. So like 2/3 of the load of the force of the lift of the kite are produced in the middle, and maybe you want to have more lines here supporting that part, and here a little bit smaller cascades, but in the end they all meet here, and this is the toe points, and this is the most important thing. like how the load spreads and how it's supported and stuff. Before we play around here more, we actually want to set the line length, because that has a lot to do with the toe points. And you see that's really long lines. And also we see this is our front lines. We just have one line here, and they all go together, but we have a bar and the front lines meet at 0, just like before the bar, before the depower rope. So we also want to set this, and this is quite important for the overall brittle of the kite and the toe points, as you see in a second. So here, advanced, we want to go hydrofoiling and a lot of wind, and we just make, say, 16-meter lines. And also the angle separation is 0, because the power lines meet just before the bar. So what happens if you don't adjust this? Here the toe points, they are in the moment set automatically. So here the front lines attached, here there should be the mixer in between, but it's not modeled here. And then they will split. And if I would have, like, I can show you the extreme, we go up here to 5-meter flying lines. So these points are really close together, the toe points now, and the load splits. And this is half the angle, like half of the load goes here and half of the load goes here. This is not like 100% realistic, because here is produced more lift in the middle, which you can just adjust with these cascades and stuff, or manually moving these. But for now it's okay, and to run with the automatic value. And you see that, like, these points, because the lines are so short now, they move together now. So this angle, which is basically the length and the size of the ring here, this is just like the triangle's way steeper, so they have to move in the middle in order to split here, and the angles being the same. So you want to design the kite close to the length of the flying lines you actually flying. If you just design the kite with 5-meter flying lines, and now you use 30-meter flying lines, then the whole kite will open more up in the air. The arc shape will be, I can show you here, the kite will just find its optimal angle here, with these angles here being ideal for the 5-meter lines. And what will happen in the air is the kite will look like this, because these toe points, they want to spread, they want to be at the half angle of the flying lines entering here, and the angle will be really flat with long lines. The line will be like this, so the arc shape will be more flat, and then the kite, maybe it doesn't steer that well anymore. And the opposite is true when you design the kite like this, with long flying lines. Let's say 30 meters. So now you see, now the load is spread like equally, and these angles are really, really, really flat. So this is the automatic setting calculated by the program. But if you use shorter lines now, like say 15 meters, then the lines will pull in this angle. So the brittle is not designed for this angle. So what will happen is the kite in the air, it will get like this, which can be good, because then it will steer a bit better in this and have a bit more arc shape, which is in this case good, because it was a bit less, or too less maybe, in the last setting for just like a good handled kite. And yeah, but the extreme that could happen is if you don't follow the design, then like the middle of the kite becomes unsupported because the toe points from the flat canopy shape we had before, they are really far outside, but now you have like short lines, so the points will just go in the middle just by the law of physics, and you will have this more arc shape, like the kite will like clap or fall together in the middle here. So but the points are still far outside, so the kite become maybe unstable in the middle. So we just do it like we should and just set the flying lines to 16 meters. Okay, there's a bit of a range where you don't realize this differences so much, but also when you use a high V bar from a tube kite like this, then you will also disturb the toe points, and you have to check if your kite works with this setting. So this toe points, now the separation of these 2 points, mostly this is to correct the length of the flying lines. This is automatic setting, so this line will spread here, and this is the half angle on each side, and it's also like this is the half angle and this is the half angle, so they just every line is supposed to get half of the load. You can unhook it here and move it more to, let's say we want to support the center a bit more, because we know there's more force produced in the center, and we can go and make it a little bit more to the inside. Now it's actually the opposite. Now you can see the line here, it supports this part of the wing a bit more, so we have to move it to the outside actually. 70, like do it extreme. Ah no, it's exactly as I told. Like if we have it like this way, the force almost doesn't care if there is a line attached here, because that's just like straight, so it will only support the wingtip. And the middle here is almost unsupported. And if I move it the other extreme to 30, you see we only support the middle part, but not the tips. Like the kite doesn't care, because the force go just straight through here. So you can just cut this line and it won't make a difference, other than like this would be flapping, but this is not the ideal setting, so the forces doesn't split so well. So we can put it on auto, and then it will calculate what is the best setting for the line length, but we can just tune it a little bit more, just like moving this to 50s, because we know the center, because there's more area, produces a bit more lift. And here you can have the toe points. So this toe point here is really far forward, and what this does is determine the angle of attack, like the built-in angle of attack. You can of course change it with the mixer later, but this is the initial angle of attack that's like built into the kite. And a good rule of thumb is that in a normal stable profile, the force is created at 20% of the short here, because that moves back a little bit. Like here the force is produced here in the tips, we can just move it a little bit, let's say 25. You have to find out, that's why you have to build prototypes or different bridles to find out what is the best setting. You can change this with the mixer again, but I also make a video about mixer. There is like linear and non-linear parts of the motion of the mixer, and the ideal thing is to just set this toe point already. That this is quite a good middle value for, let's say, depowering the kite or something. And so, like, I just set it to 25. We will see then when we have flight testing if it was a good value or if we should move back or forward a little bit. But we can set this in the mixer later. And then the brittle lines are all quite long. You can see here. We have like 109 meters bridle lines for a 5-meter kite. That's way too much. That's ridiculous. Yeah, I mean, it will work. You can't almost go too long here. And if you look at the fly surface, they are really long, and it's just like, I don't know why exactly. I'm not so deep into the theory, but you can make less wrong if you are too long here, but you will of course have more drag. Then make it too short here. That could be even worse. Or you don't know. But I think we can go a little bit down here. 60 or maybe 58. And we of course also can put these ones more up. Thereby we also save a lot of line. So I think here we can set it to like 25 or something. Now it's shorter, and also these can move a little bit up. Let's say 50. And now I think, you see the angles are a little bit more steeper, so there will be a little bit more load on the lines and everything, but it's still okay. And we can just move this up a little bit further even. Also, when you have more canopy curve, you can make the bridles shorter, and if you have more aspect ratio, more flat kite, you need longer lines. So I would suspect we could already move this to 48 maybe. That's maybe a bit too unsafe. Let's go for 51. And now just maybe move this up to 55 so it spreads like a little bit more evenly. Yeah, that looks about right. I'll go a little bit higher, I don't know, just for safety. So that is the bridles. That's the most basic bridle things. And the thing as well we need to know about is they add the attachment points, like the A, B, C, and D lines. You can tune a lot about like stability and the feeling of the kite over the places of these attachment points. And because we want to have it a bit better, I will set this at 10. This is just values I developed over the time. Like I push the A lines a bit back, that will be like better for stability, and I will explain why in the aerodynamics video. And I also moved these a little bit forward, so just the kite is a little bit like the air can flow here, and also here we have some drainage channels afterwards for the water, and it's just better when this is nice and open and the water can flow to the tips. So we have a delta of that's like 86% of chord, and we can either make it evenly, just like A to B to C to D is all the same distance. That's what I wanted. That's what I will do. You make the least wrong with this. But you can of course move all the lines from the A, B, and C lines, or maybe the A and B lines from more forward, and then have the D-lines all the way to the back, so when you power on the kite it will get more aggressive profile and make more lift, and yeah, you have more explosive feel, or if you just want to have a smooth and progressive feel, then you can just make the same distance, so there will nothing be changed or not much with the profile, but the kite will just be angled at different angles of attack. So I don't know if this software supports, if it's American or... you have to have this point setting here, otherwise it won't get the last number. Okay, this looks like a kite even more. Now the lines here go straight down. In the real world they would be like this, but we don't care. We can set it with the mixer, and this is good for now. So we are happy with the bridle. That was a lot of work. And now you can make, we can have two options now. We can make it really cheap and fast and just put internal straps inside for the structure to load these lines a bit, or distribute the load and don't put stress on the canopy itself, but just use the internal structure just by adding A straps, B straps and C straps. We don't need D straps because we hardly use the D lines, only when steering. And we could also, I will just hide the top skin so you can see inside the kite. We could also make D-ribs. So now we have the D-ribs. We have a really stiff structure. If you want to have a lot of work with sewing your kite, you can add D-ribs. But I will just leave them. If we would have bridles every three ribs, then these ones would actually be quite handy, and maybe do a bridge diagonal, or H ribs like D flares, where you have like D rib going up, then one going like a bridge, and then going down to the next point again. But for now we don't want to have D ribs because we want to be quick and fast. And also it's okay when you bridle all two, when you have a two cell distance here on the attachment points. But I just wanted to show you what's possible. You could also add like these mini ribs in the back, but we don't need them. It should be like a free ride kite, and we don't want to have so much performance. And now what we still need to do is make vents. And then we can go on the profile, and we just want to open some vents here. And if we want to have a closed cell, we type 1 here, and if you want to have an open cell, you point 0, and then we can make like this. You see, you have a lot of vents, but of course we want not to have so many vents. But instead, just moving the vent like here, the load from the bridle goes here onto the straps, so here would be a nice area to make a vent. So, and yeah, I think 4 vents is enough for this type of kite. So maybe we don't need this or this, and just instead we have one here. You can just always look with your eyes if that makes sense. But this will be okay. Maybe we could do one more, but we'll just keep it like this. I just want to show you how the program works. And then we can set also where this vent opens. And when you're flying really fast and depowered, it would be maybe good putting this front of the vent to 0 to just open it up a little bit more. But of course then there is some more danger of getting water inside here. So we have it like this, and then we could also adjust the end of it, moving it to 10 for it. Now you see it's really large vents, but this actually will be too large for the most part, so 8 is a good value. And also you have to look where the stall point is here, where the airflow like stops. I will show you in the aerodynamic video, and I will figure out the exact word for it. But if your airflow just like has the pressure 1 here, then you would have to move the vent all the way to the top to still have some inflation. But if you power it and this point is here, then all the air gets in here. So just to be as efficient as possible with this vent position. Okay. The profiles, the values I used here, they are now really like thin, like more like a race kite even, of the values. So maybe, I don't know, go up to 20 to make a really thick foil, a lot of stability. And here we also go to 18 maybe. Now you see it's a bit thicker. So this is almost 90% of the design right now. And now we can add some details, like skin tension. When you blow up any kind of thing, you will get this below shape here, like on this paraglider. And this is one of my kites. And here you see I built in the strap tension to have this billow effect. And this is like 5% of billow. And if you don't do this, then if you don't make shape the panels like they are blown up already, then they will blow up themselves, but then the shape of the kite will deform from what you designed it for. So the better is to just like design the kite in that shape that it will fly anyway by blowing up this ballooning effect. Like here is a bit less ballooning because you have more cells. Yeah, and this is what will happen, like the physical model of it. And you can't have the kite designed for 0% billow because it will blow up always and anyways. So even the more billow you set before, the more safer you are that your kite has the shape you designed it in the computer. And which will also happen, I will tell this in detail a bit more in the below video, like the ratio, the aspect ratio of the cell, like how small it is, how wide it is, and how high it is, it will determine how efficient this billow shape works. So what you find in most rings is in the back part where this cell height goes down, h, you will have a lot more billow than in the front. And also it's determined by the pressure gradient between the inside, which is always the same pressure in the whole wing, and the outside, which we will see in the aerodynamic video and also the below video. So we just have a nice option here to see what we are doing with the billow, how we are designing it to be, and here we don't have any. So this will obviously not be like the kite will look in the air. So what we have to do is add some. And now you see this looks quite familiar to this, but here's a lot more below. Here's a bit less. And also we can look in the back just to see. And that might be some good values for like a race kite maybe, where you have a lot of cell count and you don't need so much below. But we have a like mid cell count, and for our purpose we just want to be on the safe side. So we go for more below in the back, you can see here. So that's like it's blown up, and we also want to go all the way to the back because that will what will happen anyway. You see, that's quite a familiar view when you see the foil kite in the air. And in the front on most foil kites here there is not below at all, which has to do something with the cloth tension and so on and so on, and the pressure gradients. But at this point we could have a bit more also, so we go to 3 or 3.5 maybe. And here also 3.5, and here we could also 4.5. We go really on the safe side now, which is not optimal for performance, but the structure will get like the cloth will have way less tension inside the cloth because these angles are more efficient. I will explain later, but yeah, but it's not so aerodynamic, of course. But more below is better than less below, because then the kite will deform like we didn't design it for. And now if we wanted to bring some more efficiency, we could decrease it here a little bit to just have the most lift is produced in this area. So we could just try to make it a little bit more flat here, but this is again not a high performance kite, so we won't do this. We just want to do it on the safe side. And what I forgot about this to tell you is here you can see how the cloth is shaped. So that line, I don't know if you can see it, that would be like if we didn't have below. Like if I switch it off, all the parts will be like square for the section without Canopy Curve, and here it will be like billowed. So that's what the program calculates the patterns to look like. And the good thing about Surfplan is if we add some like internal straps or like a D-rib, it will blow up this, but it won't change the values for the D-ribs, which is really useful. What also happens if you don't set a billow here, but you add some straps in the inside, it's just the kite will blow up and the straps will get loose. So there's no point in having straps then, because they don't handle the loads as they should anymore from the bridles, and all the measurements get wrong, like this distance between the attachment points. It's like basically if you could put a camera inside the ring, and you see how it looks like when it's billowed up, and you see some loose straps or loose diagonal ribs. You can basically like cut them out and save the weight, but that's not what they are supposed to do. So you have to be in tune with the billow settings here to match what it will look like in the air. Otherwise you can just like leave out the structure, but that's not the point of the structure. Yeah, and then we can have this. This is only for tube kites. This is some more like aerodynamic stuff. I won't go into detail here. This is also for tube kites, as you can see. Seam allowance is really important. That's just basically the margin you add here to sew it together, and it depends on your sewing machine and stuff, and what you're comfortable to work with. But I always use 7 millimeters, which is actually, if I point the needle to the side of the sewing machine, which is the width of my presser foot, so I always know if I'm aligned. And you can just measure your sewing machine presser foot and just, yeah. And then on the back, on the trailing edge, I have some more, because there you need to do a rolled seam in the end. You can apply it here, but also you can just move it manually to, let's say, 20 millimeters, so you can roll up the cloth when you close the kite in the end. And also you have a little bit more margin if you get here wrong on the you don't sew it like it should. It's like the material slips through and you're not aligned when you go here, which I explain when I show you how to sew a foil kite. Then it's better to have some margin here to just like hide your bad craftsmanship. And yeah. Okay. And the last thing is short markings. They are really important because you then can see when you're sewing the kite if you're still aligned, like if your rib matches to the upper skin and the upper skin on the other side. So there you want to also have, I have it on everything, like skins and ribs. And then I use the same points where my lines attach anyway, and on the upper skin I know I like above the points for the lines. So I just use the values 10. What was it again? 38.6. I will show you what I done now. Now you can print 195 pages of A3, and you see this is the alignment points I just added. So you have this. Oops. You can save some paper if you want by making like an overlay. Now you see all the pieces are a little bit like above each other, and then you can just print less pages. You only need 40 pages. No. And then you can just glue every page together and then cut out all the shit, and then 2 or 3 weeks later you can start sewing. So a few things where you can just like save a little bit of work I can show you. You can just go to a copy shop, pay a bit more but save a bit time, and print A0 paper. It's not supported here. Yeah, you can install the Foxit reader, and then you can also print to A0, and then you save a lot of paper. For example, this is A0, so it's 8 pages only for a 6-meter kite. So this saves a lot of work. Yeah, but it's still a lot of work. It's not like if you just want to have a foil kite because you want to save money and do it on your own, forget it. Just buy one. It's a lot of work, but you also learn a lot about aerodynamics and sewing, and it's the best feeling in the world if you use your own kite. So this is the introduction. I'm sure it was quite a long introduction, but I wanted to show you all the details of the program, and that's our kite. Yeah, bye bye, see you next time.